The sky was red, burning with the last light of day as Jack stepped carefully over broken stone and ash. Buildings lay in ruins, fires still smoked, and the air smelled like melted metal and something worse. Fear. He was alone. Again. He had been, walking for hours through what was once an alien colony, destroyed in a war nobody talks about anymore. All that was left were ghosts and memories. As Jack passed a cracked building, something made him stop. A sound. Faint. Soft. A cry. He froze, listening harder. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't wind. It was a child. He turned and followed the sound, into the ruins. His boots crunched over glass and bones. The cry grew louder, but weaker, like someone too tired to scream anymore. Then he found the stairs, half collapsed, leading underground. He hesitated. This could be a trap. Pirates sometimes used fake cries to lure scavengers, but still. He took a deep breath, grabbed the flashlight from his pack, and slowly stepped down. Each step creaked. The walls were covered in strange symbols, alien writing, but parts had been scratched out, like someone had tried to erase a name. He reached the bottom. It was cold. Wet. He swung the flashlight slowly, and there in the far corner was a shape. Small, huddled, chained. It was a child. Alien. Yes, but small, fragile, curled into herself like she was trying to disappear. Her skin was pale lavender, covered in bruises. Her silver hair hung in tangled knots. Her arms were wrapped around her knees, and her eyes, huge and glowing faint blue, looked up at him, terrified. Jack raised his hand slowly, showing he meant, "No harm. It's okay," he said gently. "I'm not here to hurt you." The child didn't speak. She just watched him. "Are you alone?" he asked. She nodded. "Barely." He moved closer, noticing the thick collar around her neck. A long chain bolted her to the wall. Jack's chest tightened. "Who did this to you?" Her lips trembled. They said, "I was bad," she whispered. Her voice so soft he had to kneel to hear. "They locked me away, because I scream." Jack blinked. "Because you scream?" She nodded again. The others stopped screaming. I didn't. He looked at her thin arms. She had bite marks, burns, scars. His stomach turned. He reached for the chain, inspecting the lock. It was old, rusted. Maybe he could break it. Then the girl's eyes widened in panic. "No," she whispered, pulling away. "They'll hear. They'll come." Jack looked up sharply. "Who?" "The ones who smile," she said. His blood ran, cold. He had heard of them. Alien caretakers pretending to rescue orphans after the war, but they didn't. They sold them, used them, changed them, and this child had survived them. Jack stood up, anger rising. "You're not staying here." She shook her head violently, shivering. "They'll find you. They always find. They have ears in the walls." Jack looked around, listening. Nothing but silence. "How long have you been down here?" She didn't answer. He stepped back and whispered, "I'll be right back." He ran upstairs, grabbed tools from his pack, and returned. The girl was still there, eyes wide, body shaking. He knelt by the lock. "It might be loud," he warned. She covered her ears. He worked fast. The metal screeched as it bent. One final pull and the chain snapped. The girl flinched. She expected pain, but it didn't come. Jack held out his hand. She stared at it. Then, slowly, she took it. Her hand was so small in his. He pulled her gently to her feet. She winced. She hadn't walked in a long time. "I've got you," Jack said, lifting her into his arms. As he started up the stairs, she buried her face in his chest and, behind them, deep in the shadows, something clicked. A hidden sensor. A red light turned green. Someone knew she was gone, and they were coming. Jack held the girl tightly as he stepped out of the dark cellar. The ruined city around them was quiet, but it was not safe. The child clung to him like he was the only thing holding her to this world. Her breathing was fast, She kept glancing behind them, whispering things Jack couldn't understand. "They coming?" he asked gently. She nodded. "They always come. When the chain is broken." Jack moved quickly, staying low. He needed to get out of this zone. He had a small camp 2 kilometers away. If he could reach it, they might be safe, at least for tonight, but he didn't get far. As he turned a broken corner, he stopped. 3 figures stood in the street ahead, tall, smiling, dressed in smooth black armor that shimmered like oil. Their skin was pale gold, their eyes too bright, unnatural, and every one of them had the same fake smile stretched across their faces. Jack tensed. One of them raised a hand in greeting. "Human," the tallest one said politely. "We're pleased to see you alive." Jack didn't answer. The alien looked past him and saw the girl in his arms. "Ah," he said softly. "You found our little project." Jack's grip tightened. The child had frozen, her body cold like stone. She knew them. Her breath had stopped. "She's not your project," Jack said, calm but firm. The alien smiled wider. "You misunderstand. She is not a person. She's a sample, a bio-blend. Half prototype, half teaching tool. She is not designed for independent life." Jack stepped back. "You kept her chained in a basement. That's not teaching, that's torture." The second alien chuckled. "Children cry. It's natural. And besides, look at her. Do you really think something like that deserves a name?" The girl's fingers dug into Jack's jacket. She was trying to disappear again. "She has a name," Jack said, his voice sharp. "Rylu." The third alien's smile dropped for a second, then returned. "That name is unauthorized. You have no legal right to name company property." Jack took another step back. He knew this type. They didn't shout. They didn't scream. They smiled while they killed. The first alien pulled out a small cube. "Here's an offer," he said. "You give her to us now. No questions, we give you supplies, credits, a pass to leave this sector, you get safety. And if I say no," the cube glowed red, "then we'll consider you infected, emotionally compromised, a risk to containment." Jackie looked down at Rylu. Her eyes met his. There was no trick in them, no alien power, just one thing, hope. The first she had ever felt. Jack made his choice. He turned sharply and ran. Behind him, the aliens didn't shout. They didn't chase like humans, no, they calmly lifted their devices and marked him. A green light clicked on. A signal went out. More were coming. Jack ran faster. He ducked through broken buildings, climbed rubble, leapt over smashed vehicles. Rylu held on tight, her face buried in his shoulder. "They're calling others," she whispered. "Machines with wings. They fly faster than air." "I know," Jack said, panting, "but they don't know the way I do." He reached a narrow alley and squeezed through a crack in a wall that looked like solid concrete from the outside. On the other side, it opened into an old supply tunnel, abandoned years ago, untouched by the war. He dropped to one knee, catching his breath. Rylu looked up at him. "You shouldn't have run," she said quietly. Jack wiped sweat from his face. "And leave you with them?" "They'll hurt you now," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "Because of me." Jack smiled, tired but warm. "They were going to hurt you anyway," he said. "Now we run together." For the first time, she gave a tiny smile back, a real one. But it didn't last long. From far above, a high-pitched hum echoed through the tunnel. Rylu gasped. "The wings. They've found us." Jack stood. "Then we go deeper." He turned on his flashlight and ran into the shadows, carrying the girl close, her heartbeat thudding fast against his chest. Behind them, outside the tunnel, something flew low through the ruins, shiny, silent, deadly. It had no mouth, but its smile was painted on. Jack ran through the old tunnel until his legs burned. The humming sound behind him had faded, but he didn't stop. Not yet. Rylu, the little alien girl in his arms, was breathing hard. She held on tightly, her head against his chest. At last, Jack reached the end of the tunnel. A round, rusted door blocked the exit. He slammed his shoulder into it once, twice, until it creaked open. Outside was a dense, strange forest. Tall trees stretched up into a green sky, their leaves glowing faintly like fireflies. Vines moved slowly across the ground like lazy snakes. The air smelled sharp, almost electric. It was quiet. Too quiet. Jack stepped out, his boots crunching, soft moss. "We're far from the city now," he whispered. Rylu looked around, her wide blue eyes scanning everything. "This forest is alive," she said quietly. Jack nodded. "It's old land. Nobody comes here, that's why we're safe." He found a hidden spot beneath a fallen log and carefully set Rylu down. Her legs trembled when she tried to stand. Jack quickly unpacked a small energy blanket and wrapped it around her. "I'll build a fire," he said. "No fire," she warned, clutching his hand. "They can smell the heat." Jack paused. "All right, no fire." Instead, he gave her water and a nutrient bar. She sniffed it like it might bite her, then carefully took a small bite. Her eyes widened. It tastes sweet," Jack chuckled. "It's just standard ration food." She chewed slowly, like she didn't want to finish it too fast, like she had never tasted anything kind before. Jack sat beside her, keeping watch. For the first time since he found her, they had a moment of peace. "Rylu," he said softly, "why were you really locked up?" She looked down. Her fingers fidgeted with the edge of the blanket. "I wasn't born like others," she whispered. "I was made." Jack frowned. "Made?" They took pieces from many races. They wanted to create someone smart, fast, who could understand any voice, feel any pain, but not cry. She looked up, eyes shimmering. "But I cried, I always cried. They said I failed." Jack's fists clenched. "You didn't fail. I wasn't supposed to feel fear, but I did. I wasn't supposed to scream, but I did." Jack shook his head. "That's not failure, Rylu, that's being alive." She blinked at him, then whispered, "You talk like a parent." Jack looked away for a second. "I lost someone," he said quietly. "A long time ago, a child. Maybe that's why I couldn't leave you." Rylu reached out and gently touched his hand. "Thank you," she said. Before he could answer, a soft rustle came from the trees. Jack stood instantly, pulling out his weapon. A small laser pistol, nothing big but enough for 1 or 2 shots. The rustle came again, then silence. Then, crack. A long black drone dropped from a tree, its wings folding in. Its face was smooth metal. No eyes. Just a red light glowing it. The center. Jack fired. 1 shot. The drone spun and crashed to the ground, sparking. But Rylu was trembling again. "That was a scout. The others will follow." "How many?" "Dozens." Jack grabbed his pack and lifted Rylu again. "We can't. Stay here," he said. "Is there anywhere they can't go?" Rylu hesitated. "There's a place," she said. "Deep in the forest. The ground shakes there. The machines don't like it." Jack nodded. "Lead the way." She guided him through narrow trails and glowing vines, past strange trees that hummed when touched. Once they passed a huge flower that hissed as they walked by. Jack kept his weapon ready the whole time. Hours passed. The sky above turned dark green, then purple. Finally, Rylu stopped. "There," she said. They stood before a strange hill. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. The ground beneath it was soft and warm. Small glowing bugs floated in the air like stars. "This is an old place," Rylu whispered. "Before the war. Before the cities." Jack lowered her gently. The moment he touched the earth, he felt it, like the ground itself was breathing. Suddenly, the trees behind them cracked. A new noise filled the air. Not drones, not machines. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Someone had found them. Jack stood tall, putting himself between the sound and Rylu. She grabbed his hand. "I don't want you to die," she whispered. "I'm not planning to," he said with a soft smile. The first shape stepped from the shadows. It wasn't a drone, it wasn't a soldier, it was something else. And it was smiling. Jack stood in front of the strange creature that had stepped from the trees. It wasn't like the others. Not a drone. Not armored. It was tall, with long limbs and skin like polished glass. Its face was smooth, no mouth, no eyes, but somehow it still gave the feeling of a smile. Not friendly, but cold, calculated. It didn't speak. It just tilted its head slowly, as if studying Jack and the child behind him. Rylu crouched behind Jack's leg, frozen in fear. The creature raised one long arm. From its fingers, tiny glowing insects flew out, hundreds of them. They hovered in the air like fireflies, lighting up the night with soft golden flickers. "What is that?" Jack whispered. Rylu whispered back. "Emotions swarm. They smell fear, sadness, pain. If you feel too much, they follow you. And then they scream." The fireflies spread out, circling the area, searching for feelings like dogs sniffing for food. Jack stayed calm. He had been a soldier once. He knew how to breathe slowly, how to control his heartbeat. But Rylu, she was trembling. One of the glowing bugs landed on her shoulder. It pulsed red. Jack reacted fast. He reached over, gently brushing the bug away and pulling Rylu close. "Look at me," he said softly. Her big, glowing eyes looked up at him, filled with tears. "You're safe," he said. "Breathe like I do. Watch me." He took a slow breath, inhaled it, let it out again and again. Rylu followed, trying to match his rhythm. Her small chest rose and fell with his. The swarm slowed. The bugs turned yellow again. Peaceful. The tall creature still watched. Waiting. Testing. Jack stared back, not blinking. He didn't show fear. He didn't move. He just stood tall, holding the child like she was his own. After long seconds, the creature slowly lowered its arm. The bugs returned to its fingers. Then, without a word, it turned and vanished into the trees. The forest went quiet. Jack didn't speak until he was sure it was gone. Then he sat down, holding Rylu close. She was shaking hard, her hands gripping his jacket like a lifeline. "They were going to scream," she whispered. "If they scream, others come." "I know," Jack said gently. "But you did well. You stayed with me." She looked up at him. "How did you learn to be calm?" Jack's eyes darkened. "A long time ago I had to be. There was a war. I saw bad things. But someone once taught me how to breathe. A little girl. She used to tell me, if you're scared, breathe like the stars do, slow and forever." Rylu's lip trembled. "Where is she now?" Jack looked away. "Gone." Rylu leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm sorry." He hugged her gently. "So am I." They sat there for a while, surrounded by the soft heartbeat of the earth. Then the wind changed. It smelled metallic. Rylu tensed. "They're coming," she whispered. "More?" Jack asked, already grabbing his pack. She nodded. "They know the fireflies were used. They'll send hunters now." Jack looked up at the sky. Through the trees, faint red dots moved slowly, searching. "We need to move again," he said. "But where?" Rylu asked, her voice small. "They're everywhere." Jack thought for a second. Then he remembered something from a forgotten report. An old research station, buried deep in the forest, used before the war. Abandoned. Hidden. "If we reach that place, we might find a shield," he said. "Something to block their signals." Rylu looked unsure. I don't know the way." Jack smiled gently. "Then we'll find it together." They moved quickly but quietly, weaving through the glowing woods. Every sound made Rylu jump. Every shadow made her hold tighter. But Jack was calm, strong, unshaken, until they reached the river. The water was black, still, too quiet. Jack stepped forward to test the crossing. Suddenly, something rose from the water. A shape, a face. But not a creature, a machine, half submerged, half alive. It opened its mouth and said in a soft female voice, "Target identified. Hybrid subject. Escape protocol incomplete." Rylu screamed. The fireflies hiding nearby in the trees lit up red. The sky above flashed. Jack cursed. "No more hiding," he said, lifting Rylu in one arm and pulling his weapon with the other. "They want to fight?" His eyes turned hard. "They're going to get one." Rylu's face went pale. "That voice. It was the one who taught me words," she whispered, trembling. "But she was never kind." Jack stepped in front of her, weapon raised. "She's not taking you back." The machine tilted its head. "Unauthorized human. Eliminate." Its chest opened, revealing a weapon glowing bright blue. Jack fired first. The laser shot hit the machine's shoulder, but only left a burn. The machine stepped forward, water dripping from its legs, slow and powerful. Jack fired again. Missed. He grabbed Rylu's hand and ran. They crashed through the trees, branches cutting across Jack's face. Behind them, the machine's heavy. Steps followed, louder with each second. "She's not stopping," Jack said, panting. "We need cover." They ran through a curtain of glowing vines and reached a large open area in the forest. In the center stood a massive pile of metal, half buried, covered in moss, forgotten. It looked like a broken beast. Arms like cannons, chest like a tank, and a helmet-shaped head tilted to one side. "What is this?" Jack asked. Rylu stared at it, her eyes wide. "I've seen drawings of this. Before the war. It's a war beast. From the old times. My creators feared it." Jack looked at her. "Can it still work?" She walked forward slowly, almost drawn to it. I don't know." Behind them, the machine reached the clearing. It aimed its arm. Jack stepped in front of Rylu again. "Go!" he shouted. "Find a way to wake it up." Rylu ran toward the metal beast. She placed her hand on its chest. It didn't move. She placed both hands, closed her eyes, and whispered something in her native tongue. For a second, nothing happened. Then, a small light blinked on. The metal beast's chest glowed softly. A deep sound rumbled from inside it, like the breath of something ancient waking up. The arms moved slightly, the head lifted. Rylu gasped. "It's listening." The war machine's head turned. Its eyes, deep, glowing blue, locked onto the smaller enemy machine that had followed them. Then it spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. "Target. Threat to child. Orders protect." Jack's jaw dropped. "It talks?" The enemy machine opened fire. A blue beam shot across the air, but the war beast raised one arm, blocking it with a thick metal plate. Then it moved. Fast, heavy, loud. It stomped forward and punched the enemy machine with one blow. Sparks flew. The smaller machine tried to fight back, but it was no match. The war beast grabbed it by the neck and crushed it like paper. It dropped the broken pieces to the ground, then turned to Rylu and knelt. "DNA match confirmed. Unit Guardian 7 active. Awaiting command." Rylu blinked in shock. It knows. Jack walked up beside her, panting, eyes wide. "That thing just saved us." Rylu looked up at him, then back at the machine. "My blood must match the old codes," she said. "I was made from many. Maybe they used someone who built these things long ago." Jack smiled. "Then maybe you're not just a test subject, maybe you're a key." The war beast stood tall again and scanned the area. Multiple hostiles approaching, defense recommended. Jack looked at the sky. Red dots, enemy drones, were moving fast. "They're coming in numbers," he said. "Can your big friend handle them?" Rylu looked up at the metal beast. "Can you fight?" "Yes, but power core damaged. Movement limited. Targeting reduced. Jack looked around. Then we help. Together. He turned to Rylu. Do you trust me? She nodded. Yes. He pointed toward a rock-covered ridge. We set a trap. You and the war beast block the front. I'll hit them from the side. Rylu's voice was soft but strong. Let's stop running. Jack smiled. Now you sound like a soldier. Together they prepared. The war beast stomped into place. Jack climbed the ridge with his small laser cannon hidden behind trees, and Rylu stood at the base, tiny but tall, facing the red dots approaching fast. They see me, she whispered. Good, Jack said in his earpiece. Let them come. The forest grew loud with engines. The night lit up, and the first shot was fired. The night exploded. Red flashes lit the sky as the enemy drones swarmed in, buzzing like angry wasps. Their lights blinked wildly, searching for the target. For her. Rylu stood still at the front of the old ridge, her silver hair glowing under the stars. Behind her, the war beast, Guardian 7, stood like a mountain, eyes glowing blue, arms raised for battle. On the ridge above, Jack adjusted his laser cannon, aiming carefully. Hold the line, he whispered into his earpiece. Wait until they're close. Rylu nodded silently. She was scared, but she didn't run. She wouldn't run anymore. The first drone swooped down. Guardian 7 fired a blast. Clean, sharp, direct. The drone shattered in midair, metal falling like broken glass. But more came. 10, 15, then 20. They darted through the trees, firing blue beams, scorching the ground. Guardian 7 roared as it shielded Rylu with its metal arms, taking hit after hit. Jack opened fire from the ridge, striking drones from the side, causing confusion in their ranks. Still, they kept coming. Smoke filled the forest, sparks lit the trees. Suddenly, a new figure dropped into the battle, tall, armored, wearing black and gold. Not a drone, a commander. The others backed off, hovering in silence. Jack narrowed his eyes. That's not good. The commander's voice echoed across the field, smooth and cold. Rylu, you've caused quite a mess, she gasped. I know that voice, she whispered. He taught the others how to speak. The man stepped forward, taking off his helmet. Underneath was a pale face, sharp eyes, and a cruel smile. Come now, he said gently. Let's go home. You've had your fun. Rylu stepped back. You heard us. You said we weren't real. He smiled wider. You're not. You were made to follow, to obey. But you ran. Guardian 7 growled. Its guns hummed, ready to fire. The commander raised a hand. Don't, he said. One command from me, and your beast shuts down. You forget. I built the codes. Rylu froze. Is it true? She whispered to the war beast. Guardian 7's voice was quiet now. Old codes detected conflict within system. Obedience cannot be promised. The commander stepped closer. You have no place out here, he said. You're a child of wires and pain. Come with me, and I'll make sure it doesn't hurt. Anymore. From the ridge, Jack shouted, Don't listen to him. The commander turned his head, frowning. And you, he said, are just a lonely man carrying guilt. She is not your child. Jack climbed down from the ridge slowly, keeping his weapon aimed. She is now, he said, because someone had to care. Rylu looked between them. One man who had created her and another who had protected her. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft, but strong. I choose him. The commander's face twisted. That's not how it works. He raised his arm. But Guardian 7 moved first. It launched forward, slamming into the commander with full force. The ground shook. Trees snapped. The two titans clashed. Metal against metal. Old codes against new heart. Jack pulled Rylu behind a rock as sparks and debris flew everywhere. The commander's armor adapted quickly, launching blades, firing plasma shots. But Guardian 7 didn't stop. Even when its left arm was torn off, it kept fighting. Protect. Rylu, It repeated through static. Jack looked at Rylu. If we don't stop him now, he'll send more. Rylu closed her eyes and stepped forward. What are you doing? Jack cried, grabbing her arm. I'm ending it, she whispered. She walked to Guardian 7 and placed her hand on its back. The machine paused, then glowed brighter. Override accepted. New command, by the child's will. Suddenly, Guardian 7 roared louder than before. Its remaining arm transformed, becoming a blinding energy cannon. The commander's eyes widened. No, he shouted. But it was too late. Guardian 7 fired. Beam of pure light burst from its chest, striking the commander directly. The explosion lit the sky. When the light faded, there was silence. Only smoke. Only ashes. Jack rushed over. Guardian 7 knelt, sparking and shaking. Core. Failing. Task. Complete. Rylu touched its chest gently. Thank you. Protect. Always. It whispered, then went still. Its blue lights faded. It was gone. Rylu wept. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. He saved us. She nodded slowly. Because I asked him to. They sat in the quiet forest, under stars now peaceful again. The drones had vanished. The enemy was gone. But something new had awakened. The forest was quiet now. Smoke still rose from the place where the commander fell, but the wind carried it away. The night air felt cooler, softer. Rylu sat beside Guardian 7's giant metal hand. It no longer moved. Its lights were gone. But she stayed close, holding onto it like saying goodbye to a friend. Jack stood nearby, watching her in silence. The great battle was over, but something inside Rylu was still fighting. Something small, something deep. I told him I wanted to be free, she whispered, her voice soft. Jack nodded. And now you are. She looked up at him, her glowing blue eyes full of questions. But what does freedom mean? If I don't know who I am? Jack sat beside her on the mossy ground. You're not just what they made, he said. You're what you choose now. I was made in a lab, she said, built like a machine, given numbers instead of a name. He looked into her eyes. But you have a name now, Rylu. You chose it. You held it close when no one else would. That name is yours. She touched her chest, where her heart beat softly beneath alien skin. Rylu, she whispered again. That's me. Jack smiled. That's you. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the forest breathe. The creatures had returned. Soft, glowing bugs danced again in the air. A small animal peeked from the trees, watching with curious eyes. Peace was coming back. But the war machine, Guardian 7, remained still. Its duty complete, Rylu stood and placed one hand on its chest. I'll remember you, she said. You were more than metal. Then slowly, she turned away. Jack handed her a soft scarf from his pack. She wrapped it around her shoulders. It was far too big, but warm. Safe. What happens now? She asked. Jack looked up at the stars through the trees. We find a path forward, he said. There's a station not far from here. Quiet, remote. They take in people running from bad places. Even aliens? He smiled. Especially aliens. Rylu hesitated. Will I be safe there? Jack looked at her kindly. I'll make sure of it. As they began walking, Rylu's small hand reached out and held his. Not out of fear this time, but trust. She asked, Why did you stay with me? You could have left. Jack took a deep breath. Because once, I lost someone I couldn't protect. A daughter. She had eyes like yours, kind, curious. I couldn't save her. He looked down. But this time, I had a chance. Rylu squeezed his hand. Then maybe I was sent for you too. They kept walking, step by step, through the forest that once hunted them. Now it welcomed them. The trees no longer hid monsters. The vines didn't whisper fear. The stars above weren't eyes watching, they were lights guiding. After hours of walking, they reached the edge of a cliff. Below, far in the valley, lay a small outpost. Lights blinked gently. Ships rested on landing pads. It looked peaceful. Rylu asked, "It's beautiful." Jack smiled. "That's where we start over." She looked up at him. "Will they ask who I belong to?" He paused, then said firmly, "You belong to no one. But if they ask who you're with, tell them you're with Jack." She smiled, real and bright. "I'm with Jack." They climbed down the path together, slowly, carefully. As they neared the gates, Rylu stopped. "Can I ask for something?" she said. "Anything." She turned to him, eyes serious. "Can I keep my name, even if they want to give me a number again?" Jack bent down to her level, placing both hands on her shoulders. "You keep that name forever," he said. "Because that name is yours, not theirs, not mine, yours." She nodded. "Then I'll never forget." And together they walked through the gates. A girl who was once chained in the dark now stepped into the light. Free, alive, chosen,